The trickster watched the sorceress silently. He didn't know what to make of her. The other humans had all been quick to talk about how to control him, making demands of his power, bragging about how much power they had over him. But she was different. Different enough to forget about escaping. This was a new puzzle to unravel. He could escape later.
I can be of help. We have the same goals, after all. We both wish to send me home.
Indeed we do. And in my case, as soon as possible.
Then, please, accept my help.
He glided over to her desk. Sigyn raised her eyebrows.
Exactly how do you propose to do that?
She questioned. She didn't trust him, but there was no point in antagonizing him. And she had to admit, he probably did know quite a bit more about travel between realms than she did.
I am experienced in traveling between realms.
He replied, confirming her suspicions.
That may indeed be useful.
She acquiesced and nodded.
So where to begin?
Sigyn murmured, mostly to herself. She didn't outwardly react when he leaned over next to her to look at the papers. He lightly set a hand on the page as he peered over it.
Well, that part is useless.
Oh? Why so?
It's just gibberish on how he believes the worlds to be connected. To think that one can blast a hole through the borders between worlds by force alone.
I see.
She murmured, making some notes on a separate piece of paper, half talking to herself.
I had suspected it was more of a case of weak spots as opposed to specific places of power.
Weak spots?
He repeated with a smile. Despite his imprisonment, the chance to discuss the theory of magic with someone else sparked his interest. This was a novelty. This was interesting. This was fun. Sigyn nodded and rustled up a piece of paper within the pile that she had.
It is somewhat of a pet project of mine. Places where the veil is thinner than the others. Ghost stories often originate around them.
She said, motioning to the paper, though not leaving it quite long enough for him to read anything pertinent. Not a bad theory. Not bad at all for a human. Impressively close to the truth. Close enough that she earned a hint.
A question. Is this a weak spot in the walls?
He strolled over to the door of the room and opened the door. Sygin raised an eyebrow, not quite understanding.
That's a door.
Precisely.
So, are you telling me that they are doorways as opposed to weak spots?
A slow smile spread across his face as he watched understanding dawn.
Exactly. Locked doors most of the time.
So, not weak spots, but unlocked doors?
Exactly. Now, all that one needs is the right key.
Key? Physical or otherwise?
I suppose it could be tied to a physical object. I don't see why not.
So the trick to getting you back to your own realm is to find one of these doors.
Sigyn looked thoughtful. This was shaping up to be easier than she thought it would be, provided he was telling the truth. Sigyn followed his gaze to the box on her desk.
If it's a matter of finding a door between this realm and mine, that's easy enough. I can open a door, but I cannot pass through it.
Ah,
she said simply. So this was his game. He would open a door between the realms only if she released him. But she could not, in good conscience, release him without being certain of a way to send him back to his own realm.
then it seems we're currently at an impasse.
We don't have to be.
He gave her a charming smile.
Do you really expect me to just destroy the box and allow you free reign in this realm?
Why not? You have no use for it.
I have no use for control of a trickster other than to prevent unnecessary mischief within the realm that I have vowed to protect from supernatural threats.
Unnecessary mischief. My lady, I never do anything unnecessary.
You are the trickster. Liesmith, Silvertongue, call it as you will, it's in your nature. This is not your realm, and therefore any shenanigans will be unnecessary.
If you say so.
I do. And since you are residing within my home, and I am not coercing you by the bond of the power of this box, I would thank you to refrain from causing mischief whilst you are here.
As you wish. And I see you do not need my help after all. I shall no longer trouble you.
He said with a little bow. And with that, he vanished. If the sorceress was unnerved by the very quiet display of power, she didn't show it. Charming her wouldn't work. Appealing to her intellectual curiosity hadn't worked either. He needed a new plan. And since he had time to think, he was going to take advantage of it. For a time, he watched her work, intently absorbed in her scribbles. It was as though she had forgotten all about him. He drifted closer. An abandoned pile of books, out of place in this neatly organized study, betrayed her previous research. She had been researching the binding spell holding him. A smile crept across his face. She was so focused on inter-realm travel that she was disregarding the notes that the warlock had left on the binding spell. That was the first chance he had to study it. He set to committing their contents to memory.
Good lady?
His voice shattered the silence of the study about an hour later as he shifted back into visible range. Sigyn looked up, blinking once or twice.
Yes?
I'd like to look at the rest of the house, if I might.
She looked a bit surprised, then seemed to shrug to herself and rose.
Very well.
She relaxed the warding around the room and sent the excess power into reinforcing the warding around the house.
Did you wish for a tour?
No, I can manage. You carry on with your research.
Very well. Please refrain from tampering with my belongings.
I'll away and leave you to your studies.
Do not touch my belongings.
She said firmly once again. He couldn't help but smile at that, and vanished.
As you wish.
For a while, Sigyn was able to forget her uninvited guest, but the small nagging in the back of her mind remained. And for a while, she gave up trying to get any more research done while she knew the Trickster was wandering her home at will. She put the papers away neatly, carefully bespelling the drawers to prevent any tampering, and left the workroom to look for him. She finally found him in one of the storage rooms. The room was filled with glowing glyphs, swirling characters on every surface. But as soon as she stepped foot in the room, everything vanished. Sigyn raised her eyebrows.
That looked interesting.
You do your research your way, and I shall do my way. Did you need something?
I came to check on you.
She told him, and then paused, a thought suddenly occurring.
Do you eat?
I do appreciate a good meal. Doesn't everyone?
She rolled her eyes.
I had meant, was it a necessity to your continued existence? I can guarantee a meal. I cannot guarantee a good one.
She commented, then began walking towards the kitchen. His thoughts raced through her possible motivations, but he could see no trap.
Yes, I do need to eat.
Sigyn nodded as she entered the kitchen, heading for her larder. She had no idea what a trickster demi-god preferred to eat, but she wasn't going to pander to a fussy appetite. The larder told her that she could make soup, or soup, and Sigyn made a mental note to go to the market the next day as she took ingredients from the shelves. When she turned around, she saw the trickster watching her. She piled vegetables onto the work surface, kicked the door shut with one foot, and dumped the rest of what was in her hands down too. She looked at her reluctant houseguest.
Have you come to help?
Do you wish for help?
Many hands make light work.
She told him, rolling up her sleeves and starting on washing the vegetables.
I make neither wishes nor compulsions.
What are you doing?
Washing the vegetables. They will need to be put in the drainer to remove excess water, and then chopped, and then put into the pot.
She flicked the two first fingers of one hand, and a pot slowly moved to the sink, filled with water, and returned to the stove. The novelty of being asked, and not commanded or cajoled, caught him off guard.
Very well. I can do that.
Hop to it, then.
She said, and then returned to her task. The vegetables vanished from where she put them to reappear in the pot, neatly diced, and ready for Sigyn to finish up the preparations. She was somewhat surprised that he had been so willing to help. She wasn't sure if she was surprised by his bluntness, or if this was all part of some scheme of his. And honestly, she hated not having all the answers.
Anything else I could do to help?
Set the table. Bowls are in the second cupboard to the left. Spoons are in the third drawer on the right. And there's bread and a pot of butter in the pantry. Fish shelf up.
Everything that she had asked for appeared on the table.
Thank you. I can offer water, cordial, or hot beverages.
She responded politely, watching the soup carefully as she stirred it.
Water will be fine.
Glasses are in the cupboard above the bowls. I shall have the same, thank you.
Sigyn began ladling soup in the bowls. He took a seat as the glasses full of water materialized on the table. Sigyn put a bowl of soup down in front of him, and she sat down with her own.
Tell me more about this place. The air outside had a different taste than where I was before.
He asked after a few moments of uncomfortable silence.
This is a considerably more pleasant area of the country, yes. I had no idea you were so attuned to the atmosphere.
She mused, and gave herself an inward shake. Perhaps she could distract him from thoughts of mischief with discussion of the area. With that in mind, she told him all about the place she lived in.
I've been to so many different places. It's interesting to compare.
I have heard that variety is the spice of life, or something like that.
Something like that.
He agreed with a smile. The two fell silent again. While she had been talking, the trickster had made short work of his bowl of soup. She glanced up.
There's more in the pot if you're still hungry.
He nodded, and his bowl refilled itself.
What have you uncovered in your research?
So far, I'm just translating the utter gibberish that fool of a warlock wrote. A slow process.
Sigyn sighed. She was not about to discuss anything she was doing. Not with the trickster, anyway.
Yeah, he wasn't very bright. Which is rather insulting, really.
Insulting?
A fool like that telling me what to do. What do you think?
Touché. I would not appreciate being beholden to one such as him.
I hope that he came to an unpleasant end.
He was disposed of.
Good.
Do you sleep?
She asked, changing the subject. None of the text she had on hand, nor the garbled concoction of words on paper from the warlock, said much of anything regarding the trickster's needs. The former for lack of information other than literary, and the latter likely because the warlock just hadn't cared. Once again, he seemed to consider her question for a long time before responding.
When I can.
I see.
She was beginning to think she had been saddled with more trouble than she initially indicated.
I shall make a bed up.
I can manage.
I would prefer not to be viewed as a bad host. You may finish the soup if you like. When you're ready, come join me in the room at the end of the hall.
With that, Sigyn rose from the table and rinsed her dishes in the sink.
All right.
And wash up after yourself.
She added as she left the room. He looked amused as he watched his master leave the room. No, perhaps not master after all. Jailer wasn't the right word either. She was clearly taking no pleasure in this, not even academically. No, as far as he could tell, she was telling the truth. She truly believed that her world would be better if he wasn't able to play around in it. And for a human mage to attempt that sort of thing, well, that amused him. He lazily watched as the dishes washed themselves and returned to their places, before rising to his feet and going to see what she was up to. Sigyn had been hard at work transforming the spare library into something resembling a guest room. While bookshelves still lined the walls, the desk had been transformed into a suitably large bed. The trickster was certainly over 6 foot tall, and she needed a bed to fit his frame. She summoned spare blankets from a storage chest and neatly tucked them in. Then she turned around to see her reluctant house guest standing in the doorway, with his usual, unreadable expression. Sygin tucked the top blanket under the pillows and looked up at him.
I hope this is acceptable.
It is.
Good. I am sure you located the bathroom. Feel free to bathe at your leisure. I shall take my leave for the evening.
Good night.
Good night.
Sygin nodded to him and headed to her room. He prowled around the room for a bit, and then settled down on the bed she had made up for him. He intended just to have a quick nap, just rest his eyes. The mage was intending to win him over with kindness. That much was clear. He wasn't entirely sure he was going to allow that to happen. He wouldn't relax his guard. Not just yet. But it had been such a long time since he had been able to rest. Sigyn realized, after she had bathed and got herself ready to lie in bed and read a while, that she did not have the particular book she wanted. A treatise on interrealm travel and the real and proposed laws therein. She sighed, wrapping herself in a large fluffy robe to stave off the chill in the air, and making her way into the workroom. It wasn't until she searched her shelves top to bottom that she remembered she had moved it into her overflow library, as she had no use for interrealm travel works, since her main area of interest was in more practical areas.
Bother.
She muttered aloud, and quietly made her way to the room to see if her guest was still awake. She stopped in the doorway, frozen at the sight. The trickster was sprawled out rather ungracefully on the bed. He hadn't even bothered with the covers. Now that he was asleep, he no longer radiated power. He was clad in a simpler outfit, a plain light green tunic with black trousers. His dark hair was disheveled, and he almost looked thinner. She stopped right in the doorway, regarding him for a moment. He looked a lot less like the arrogant demi-god Trickster, and more like a normal person. She found herself pursing her lips slightly at how skinny he looked. The more maternal side of her, wondering whether he ate enough before she squashed it with the voice of reason. It was likely that he had not been eating properly with the warlock. That was a simple fact. No need for concern. Since he was with her for however long it took, or at least until she figured out how to get him back to his own realm without making it a pit stop in chaos, she would make meals for the pair of them, with what limited skill she had. Suddenly, he stirred and opened his eyes. Instantly, he seemed to flesh out a bit. His hair looked tidier, and his clothes returned to the pseudo-armor he had been wearing earlier. Sigyn gracefully stepped into the room, as if she had not been standing in the doorway, feeling concerned for his health.
I apologize if I've disturbed you. I mistakenly believed this was in my room.
She said, moving towards the bookcase opposite the bed and selecting a volume.
That is fine. It is your home.
This is your room while you're here. I shall leave you to your rest. Good night.
Good night again.
Her lips twitched a little as she suppressed a smile and headed back to her room.